Hand down, man down.
Fisher for three. Bang!
This is the Tom and Jerry Sports Show.
Mama, there goes that man.
Shoots, he scores! What a play by Tavares!
The noise you can't ignore.
What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to another episode of the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio. We had the Final Four over the weekend. We had two teams remaining now for the championship on Monday.
They were both a couple of good games, too.
Yeah.
Right down to the wire, both of them. So, I mean, you always like seeing that.
Yeah,
you figured it would, it's the Final Four.
Course, yeah.
But, especially like the Wichita State game, I think people might have got a little scared that Louisville could have ran them out of the water.
First.
But it was they both turned out to be very good games.
Yeah, the first game was Wichita State against Louisville, a 9 seed against the number 1 overall team. And Wichita State came out gunning.
Yeah.
Like right off the bat. They were pitching a shutout. I think like the first 10 points were to Wichita State. They were winning 10-0 right off the bat, and I was like, oh, this might be a long day for Louisville.
Yeah.
Maybe the first team to really, get them.
Yeah, give them the play at least.
Yeah, exactly. Louisville they were losing by 1 at half, 26-25. And Rick Pitino just showed
you knew the adjustments were coming.
What kind of coach he is. He ended up doing some kind of change. The defense stepped up. They started getting turnovers. They ended up winning this game 72-68. It's actually as close as the score showed it was.
Definitely.
But we have a few,
definitely towards the, again, halfway through the second half. That's just where Louisville really showed who they were, and they really took over that game. They stopped them when they had to, and they were making the shots that they had to with 3-pointers going in the second half. So
like we were saying off the air, we were going over the stats. The final 13 minutes of that game, Wichita State scored 21 points. They were 7 for 17 with 7 turnovers. Louisville, on the other hand, had 37 points, was 11 for 19, 4 for 6 from 3-point range, and 1 turnover.
Yeah.
That's the recipe for
that just goes to show you, yeah.
That's the recipe for going to the championship.
Yep, and that's why Louisville's the number 1 seed overall. That exact reason. And it comes down to halftime adjustments. I mean, a lot of their games have been close at halftime, too, throughout this tournament, but as you said, this is just showing what Rick Pitino really can do, and why he actually just got introduced into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Yeah, for teaching the kids how to play the right way.
Yeah, and like we've been saying the whole time, every time we talk about the tournament with Louisville, we always talk about their backcourt.
Yep, with
Siva and Russ Smith. Siva didn't have a good game in this.
Yeah, Smith wasn't.
Russ Smith had 21 points. He was pretty much the centerpiece of this game. Siva was 1 for 9, 0 for 5 from 3. He was 5 for 6 from the free throw line, but he had 1 rebound, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers. So I mean, Russ Smith did have 5 turnovers, but still 6 for 17, 4 for 11 from 3-point range.
Yes.
3 assists. But the big guy for Louisville that really came out of the blue was Luke Hancock, coming in for Kevin Ware.
Yes.
Had 20 points. He was 6 for 9 and 3 from 5 for 3-point range.
And a couple really big threes. That gave him a little bigger of a spread in the advantage of the score.
Yeah, definitely.
A couple late threes demoralize the other team. Those kind of shots. That's what. Those are the kind of threes he was hitting. But Siva, he's he may not have the stats, but he's their floor general.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's the guy. Game planning when when they're running on the court. You can't hear Pitino, and he's the guy.
Yeah.
The rest of the team looks to get to see what to do. So. He may not have had the score and everything like that, but it's just
the presence.
It's the on-the-court presence of Siva that, makes him so great.
Yeah, exactly. Clay Anthony early for Wichita State had 24 points.
Yeah, he had a big game.
He was the
nice
high
game.
scorer for Wichita State. Wichita State had a good season.
I mean, yeah.
I really thought at the beginning of the game, I thought they were going to take this game. But, Louisville moves on to the championship. We'll go into the next game was Syracuse and Michigan. 2 4 seeds, which we knew it was going to be a really good game. Going from, Syracuse's defense to Michigan's offense to big time,
exactly, yes.
Offense and defense. And
Michigan had that zone beat for a good amount of the game too.
Yeah.
They had it, and it's funny, I was sitting there watching towards the end of the game, and the whole game, while they had a nice lead, they were doing what they had to do, shooting around the zone, not trying to force shots or anything like that, or make these too crazy of passes. They were beating the zone with deep shots, and that's how you got to do it.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the game, it seems like they fell apart from that, and that's when Syracuse started to come back, and it was, just like the Wichita State game, another nail biter right down to the end. But,
Michigan had a big lead going into half.
Big lead.
They were up by 11 and going into half, 36-25. And, like we said with Rick Pitino, you got Boeheim, another great coach.
Look, I mean, how many points did Michigan get in the second half? Because I know
25.
I know it was in the 20s. So that shows you again, the adjustments that a great coach can make at halftime. I mean, they were getting blown out in the first half seemingly, and by the end of the game, and they had chances to win it. And that goes to show you how important coaches really are in college basketball games.
With Syracuse on their offensive side, the guy that's really been stepping it up the whole tournament was Michael Carter-Williams. He really didn't have that great of a game.
Yeah.
He was 1 for 6, 0 for 2 from 3. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers, though.
Yeah, and he did foul out along with Byrne and Trish.
Yeah.
2 of their, most important people in that zone defense.
Yeah.
But, with Michael Carter-Williams, he's, I don't know, when you watch the games, he was the perfect fit for that 2-3 zone that Syracuse has. I mean, he was lengthy, just disrupting everyone. He was... Burke couldn't really get going. Hardaway couldn't get going because of him. So but it was a very great game. I just wish, but I mean, if Michigan just stuck to what they were doing, I don't think this game would have been as close.
No.
It seems like Michigan was falling apart.
They kind of missed their shots towards the end of the game.
Yeah, they started missing their shots. They had a lot of turnovers in the last part of the game. A lot of turnovers. Syracuse almost deserved to win, but Michigan hit the important free throws when they had to at the end, and that was pretty much how it happened.
Mitch McGary had 10 points. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 13. Glenn Robinson III had 10. And Trey Burke had 7. So they were kind of, spreading the ball.
Yes.
The scoring was spread. So they ended up moving on to the championship to face Louisville. They beat Syracuse 61-56. It was a close game. I think it was a 3-point game going into the last 20 seconds or so, and then with free throws and everything. So this championship is going to be really, really good, I feel.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are also happy that it's not 2 Big East teams in the championship, because I think they've already played twice or 3 times this season, Louisville and Syracuse, so, who really wanted to, see that again. So it's nice seeing 2 different conferences go at it.
Yeah, I like this game because of what we've been saying. Like I said before, what we've been saying for the rest of, the tournament was when we spoke about Syracuse, when we were talking about Louisville, we talked about their backcourt,
and the same thing with Michigan,
and the same thing with Michigan,
and now
we're going to see whose backcourt is actually better.
Yeah, I remember.
Is it going to be Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway, or is it going to be, Siva and Russ Smith?
Yeah.
So this is going to be a really, really good game.
Yeah, I remember I was saying, before the tournament started, we felt Louisville had the best backcourt, but Michigan is right there with them.
Yeah.
And that also shows how important a point guard is in this tournament. It's literally everything, and as you can see, because the teams that had point guards made it to the Final Four. I mean, and now in the championships, the 2 best teams with the backcourt. So, it's gonna be an amazing game.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a battle. I think Tim Hardaway's got to have a little bit bigger of a game. You could tell he's more of the straight scorer for Michigan, and he didn't really. He missed a couple shots yesterday. He seems more of like a streaky shooter. Like, you know, once he gets that one to go in, you know, he'll start hitting. Start hitting a lot of them. But he just couldn't really get going yesterday against that Syracuse defense. But yeah, this Louisville matchup is going to be amazing just to watch the two backcourts go at it. Yeah.
Trey Burke, it came out before the Final Four that he swept the Naismith complete awards. You know, he just won all the awards.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you know, he pretty much is the best player.
Yeah,
I would probably say.
I think their most important player has been Mitch McGary, though.
Yeah, definitely.
He's been huge in this tournament, and he's going to have to be huge again in the championship game because Louisville has some size down low. So he's going to have to be. You know, he was doing those tipping out the offensive rebounds. I mean, he's going to have to be doing all of that again. And he's been working on a lot of post moves, and he's dropped a lot of weight since the start of the year. So, you know, his post moves are getting better, and it shows. I mean, he's been their best player for this tournament. Yeah, and they're going to have to keep going to him.
Yeah, like I said, Trey Burke won the Naismith Award. He also won the Cousy Award for the top point guard.
See, if there's one thing I don't really like, it's when one guy wins all the awards.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a player of the year already, like, obviously you're going to be the best point guard.
Exactly.
But what is the point of doing that, you know? Yeah. Like, give it to someone else.
Yeah, he also won the NABC Division I Player of the Year Award. So that puts him with, like, Oscar Robinson.
Yeah. Pretty rare company.
Yeah. So that's, you know, congratulations to Trey Burke on that. And maybe he'll add a national championship.
I'm rooting for Michigan. I want Michigan to win.
I'd like to see.
I like Pitino as a coach too. I mean, it's nothing against him. And like either way, you know,
I don't want the number one overall.
Yeah, that's another thing.
You know,
but you know, just as a fan of college basketball, you know,
I think it's gonna be a really.
I think it's gonna be really good, and I think that's really all that matters. You know, who wins. You know, we're not a fan of either of these teams, you know, like diehard fans or anything like that. So, you know, we'll be watching as fans. And, you know, we're just hoping for the best game possible.
Exactly.
But, you know, if I did have to pick, I do want Michigan to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, you know, I really just like this matchup.
Yes, I do too.
Just the backcourt. Yes. It's just going to be, you know, it's going to be awesome to see, you know, who can actually, what backcourt can really, you know, carry their team.
And I think that's going to be the difference in the game. I mean, which, you know, they're both studs. Both backcourts can easily be in the NBA.
With, definitely.
You know,
definitely.
With Smith and Siva, so I think that's going to be a battle all night. Just those. You know, two guys from each team just going at it. I think it's going to be really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. You know, with Trey Burke, you know, he is, like we said, the best player. He's going to have a good game. And on the other side, Siva's going to have a better game. He's going to have a better game than he did, you know, against, you know, so it's just, you know, you can't go 1 for 9. You know, being Siva, you cannot go 1 for 9 in this championship game.
You can't.
These guys have to step up. These are the guys that,
they're not going to be able to win.
Lead their team.
Because Michigan's not a team of Wichita State, you know, that doesn't have that type of experience. You know, I'm not saying Wichita wasn't, you know, a good team or anything like that. It's just in those crunch moments, you know, that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. So, like we said, it's Michigan and Louisville Monday night for the championship. So we'll see what happens. Yes. But we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio.